Chapter 161. Ruva's Grief. As they move deeper into the village, the destruction shifts, less random, more violent. Not just fire, not just panic. The ground is scored with claw marks. Stone walls are dented inward, blood smeared in streaks. A broken spear lies half buried in the mud. The remains of some creature, twisted, too many limbs, are crushed under a collapsed roof. Alex narrows his eyes. This wasn't just a raid. It was a battle, a real one. His gaze traces the shattered remains of stone, the deep gashes in metal, the faint traces of lingering mana scorched into the ground like scars. Tier 3, he murmurs, crouching near a split beam, then frowning as his fingers brush a groove carved straight through it.
No.
Tier 4. Ruva doesn't respond. She's gone quiet again, taking it all in with wide, numb eyes. Her hands tremble, and her steps are hesitant, like her body knows what her heart refuses to believe. They round a bend, and the largest building comes into view, or what's left of it. The great hall at the center of the village, once a gathering place, maybe a place of pride, now leans crooked, its roof caved in, walls split open like something tore its way straight through. The ground outside is scorched and cracked, like someone detonated magic mid-fight. Alex's brow tightens. He steps forward slowly, scanning the wreckage. Then Ruva gasps. Her hand slips from his. "Papa!" she screams, and bolts. "Ruva!" But she's already running, bare feet slapping against the scorched earth, straight toward one of the broken walls. Alex surges after her. And then he sees it. Half buried in the collapsed structure, pinned beneath the debris. There's a man. A Felinari, striped like Ruva, broader in frame. His body is slumped, still. Blood darkens his side. His arm is flung outward, claws dulled and coated in soot. His eyes are half open, unseeing. Ruva crashes to her knees beside him. "Papa?" Her voice breaks. "Papa, no, 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 wake up, please." She shakes him. Once, twice. Her claws grip his tunic, and she buries her face against his chest. He already knows. There's no breath.
No pulse.
Just the scent of dried blood and the lingering tension of a warrior who never had the chance to finish his last fight. "Big brother," Ruva sobs. "He was trying to protect the village. I know he was. He always said he would." She leans forward again, curling beside the body, her small frame shaking with grief. Alex stays by her side, silent but solid, his presence the only thing anchoring her in the moment. The wind stirs through the ruined walls, carrying the scent of ash and memory. Alex closes his eyes briefly. Ruva sits with her knees drawn up, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes are red and swollen, but dry now. The grief hasn't vanished, it never does, but it's no longer a tidal wave. Just something heavy, settled. Alex watches her, arms folded loosely across his chest, and says nothing. She needs this moment. To breathe, to stand back up. Slowly, Ruva rises to her feet, wiping her face with the back of her hand. Her voice is hoarse, but steady when she speaks. "Big brother." Alex lifts his gaze. "I want to find my mama," she says, and bury them all together. Please." Alex straightens, his expression softening. She's 15, and yet, she's facing this like someone twice her age. He nods once, firmly. "Let's do that then." Ruva blinks, surprised by how fast he agreed. "No one should be left alone," Alex adds. "And your dad would want that, wouldn't he?" Alex walks over and places a hand on her shoulder. "Lead the way, Ruva. I'll be right behind you." She looks up at him, then turns toward the rest of the ruins, scanning what remains of the village. Her eyes settle on a smaller path, partially blocked by debris. She always liked to sit near the old garden," Ruva says quietly. "She said the flowers made the food taste better when she cooked." "Then we start there," Alex replies. "Let's bring her home." The old garden is barely recognizable. Most of the herbs have been scorched to ash, and the fence is shattered. But the stones are still there. The path. and by one of the overturned benches, they find her. Ruva doesn't scream this time. She just drops to her knees beside the still form, brushing soot and debris from her mother's fur. There's blood, dried around the edge of her clothes, and the peacefulness on her face only makes it worse. She must have been trying to get to the shelter, Ruva murmurs, voice tight. Alex kneels beside her and lowers his head for a moment of silence. Then he rises and raises a hand. Soft blue light begins to glow at his fingertips. Gathering wind, he whispers. The wind stirs, swirling with purpose. It moves like a current through the ruins, sweeping gently through the village. Ash and debris shift, then lift, clearing a path. From every corner of the village, broken bodies begin to rise, cradled in streams of magic. One by one, the lost are gathered. Ruva watches, wide-eyed, as Alex brings them together in the clearing beside the village's old shrine. A small, half-burned structure still standing, like it had weathered the storm for this very purpose. Together they dig. Takes time. Alex uses magic to shape the earth. Ruva insists on placing the bodies herself, her mother, her father, the twins, her neighbors. All of them, carefully, respectfully. And when it's done, they stand in silence. The wind stills. "Thank you," Ruva says quietly, her hands clasped in front of her. "Ruva," he says, voice gentle. "Is there another village nearby? One you were on good terms with? Somewhere safe?" Ruva nods slowly, her ears flicking once. "Yeah," she says. "It's northeast, near the river bend. About half a day if we walk steady." She looks up at him, brushing a strand of ash-smeared hair from her face. "Their whole village is Lamari. You know, the horned ones? Real quiet but strong. They used to trade with us all the time, fruits, dried roots, even medicine sometimes. My mama liked them, said they were honest folk." Alex watches her for a moment, then asks, "So your village and there's allies?" Ruva nods again, firmer this time. "Yeah, not just friendly. We looked out for each other," she says. "When the winter hit hard last year, we shared grain. And when they had a fire, small one, we sent wood and blankets. It's not official or anything, but it's real. You know?" Alex nods, his gaze turning briefly toward the treeline, the fading sunlight casting long shadows over the graves. "Good," he says. "We'll head there next. If they're the kind to share food and trust, they're the kind who might help you." Ruva tilts her head. "And what about you?" Alex glances down at her. "I'll stay long enough to make sure they open the gate. After that, we'll see." "Okay, but—" Ruva doesn't finish her sentence. She lowers her gaze instead, the rest of the words caught in her throat, and just nods. They walk in silence after that. And by midday, the trees thin again, revealing carved wooden totems lining a narrow path. Strange but elegant designs, horns spiraling upward, woven into symbols of the moon and river. Ahead, built into the gently rising hills, the Lamari village finally comes into view. It's quiet, watchful. The buildings are shaped from smooth stone and pale timber, rounded like shells, nestled into the land. A stream runs through the center, feeding small gardens. As they step onto the main path, a figure drops from the nearest ledge, tall, broad, and unmistakably Lamari. Curved horns sweep back from his head, and his dark eyes narrow as he holds up a hand. "That's far enough," he says, voice calm but firm. "State your name and—" His words cut off mid-sentence. "Wait, is that?" His eyes widen as he steps closer, peering at the girl beside Alex. His mouth opens slightly, like he doesn't believe it. "Little Ruva?" he says, breath hitching. "By the river spirits? You're alive?" Ruva blinks, startled. "Big brother Moreau." Before she can say more, the Lamari lets out a shout, turning his head toward the village. "She's alive! There's a survivor from the Felinari tribe. Ruva's alive!" Voices rise in the distance. More Lamari begin to appear, some from the homes, others from the upper paths. All of them turn toward the sound, and when they see Ruva standing there, the quiet village erupts in movement. A pair of older Lamari rush down the path. One of them, an elder with moss-green robes and a carved walking staff, pushes forward. "Let them through," he says sharply. "That girl has seen fire and ruin. We welcome her, as we did before." Moreau nods and steps aside, his expression still stunned. "Of course, elder. Sorry." Ruva clutches the edge of Alex's cloak. The village welcomes them in silence and warmth. No loud cheers, no questions. Just quiet, knowing glances and gentle hands that reach out to touch Ruva's shoulder as she passes. She's offered food, a place to sit, blankets. But she doesn't let go of Alex. Not until night falls, and the village elder invites them into his home to speak in private. After a long conversation, one filled with careful questions, quiet nods, and promises of protection, Alex makes his decision. Outside, under the silver light of the moon, the wind is soft. The trees hum with distant insects. The village is calm now. She stands beside Alex at the edge of the elder's home, her hands clenched at her sides. Her eyes are red again. Chapter 162, Lord Astrum. "You're really gonna leave me here?" she says, voice low, like saying it aloud makes it real. Alex turns to her, eyes gentle. He reaches out and rests a hand on her head, ruffling her hair slightly. "For now," he says quietly. "I still have something I need to do. Something I can't bring you into." Ruva's gaze drops. Her voice cracks just a little. "But what if you don't come back?" "I will," Alex says firm. "I promise you, Ruva. Once I'm done, I'll come get you." She bites her lip, silent for a moment. Then finally she nods. Slowly, Alex reaches into his coat and pulls something out. A small, polished charm. A crescent-shaped stone woven with strands of silver thread and wrapped in pale ribbon. Alex kneels down to her level and presses it into her hands carefully. "Listen, Ruva," he says, voice low and serious. "If you ever find yourself in real danger, where you can't run, break this. Just snap it in two." Ruva stares at the charm wide-eyed. Her fingers curl instinctively around it. What will it do?" she asks, her voice trembling. Alex gives a small, reassuring smile. "It'll summon a beast. A beast, bound to the charm, will come to protect you. It won't stop until you're safe." Ruva's breath catches. She clutches the charm tighter, like it's the most precious thing in the world. "A real beast," she whispers. "Stronger," Alex says softly. "This one's loyal to you, but you have to be careful. Only use it if it's truly life or death. Understand?" Ruva nods furiously, her eyes shining again, though she blinks them dry. "I understand, big brother." Alex rises to his feet, resting a hand briefly on her head one last time. "You're brave, Ruva. Braver than most grown warriors I've met." His voice drops even lower, almost a whisper. "I'm proud of you." That's what finally breaks her. She throws her arms around him, clinging tight. Alex hesitates just a second, then wraps his arms around her in return. "You're not alone," he says. "Not ever." After a long moment, she pulls back, sniffing hard, and nods again. The elder of the Lamari steps forward, his expression kind but firm. "Come, child. You'll be safe here." Ruva hesitates, looking once more at Alex. He gives her a small smile and a nod. "Go on," he says. "I'll find you soon." With one last look, Ruva turns and walks toward the village elder. The Lamari close around her like a protective wall, guiding her inside. Alex watches until she disappears from sight. Then, without a word, he turns. Alex walks away from the village. He doesn't look back. Not until the last rooftop is hidden by the trees. Only then does he stop. A faint breeze stirs his cloak. Without hesitation, he gathers mana under his feet, light and force wrapping around him, and pushes off the ground. The world falls away beneath him. He soars up into the open sky, rising above the treetops, higher still until the village becomes a quiet mark on the land below. Up here it's just him and the wind. Alex exhales slowly, letting the cold air clear his mind. His gaze drifts over the endless stretch of forest, the river winding like a silver thread, the mountains distant on the horizon. She's strong, he mutters to himself, voice barely louder than the wind. Stronger than I was at her age. For a moment he closes his eyes. Memories, unwanted but familiar, flicker at the edges of his mind. Cold room, empty streets, silence. The loneliness that clung to him like a second skin when he was just a boy. No one to reach out a hand. No one to promise they'd come back. After a moment he tilts forward, mana surging again. His figure cuts through the sky like a silent arrow, vanishing into the clouds. The clouds whip past him, mist clinging to his cloak as he flies. The land stretches out below like an endless patchwork. Forests, rivers, valleys. Dotted across it, here and there, are villages and small towns. Alex slows slightly, gliding lower to get a better look. At first, he thinks he's just imagining it. But the closer he gets, the clearer it becomes. Every settlement he passes, every bustling street, every marketplace, they're all monsters. Wolf-headed beastkin laugh and haul crates. Tall, horned creatures haggle over fruit. Scaled merchants bark out deals. Children with claws and wings dart between stalls.
Nomads.
Not a single one. Alex narrows his eyes. He adjusts his flight, angling higher, letting the wind carry him. Is this place all monsters? He mutters to himself. His voice gets lost in the rushing air, but the question hangs heavy in his mind. He flies further, scanning every town he passes. Still no humans. Not even half-bloods, from what he can tell. I need to figure out where I am, Alex says. He pulls his hood a little lower over his face, shielding his features. I need a real city, he decides aloud. A place with information, maps, rumors. His mana flares again, subtle but strong, as he picks up speed. Somewhere out there, there's got to be a major city. A place big enough to answer the questions burning at the back of his mind. After some time, the sprawling outline of a city appears on the horizon. Tall stone walls gleam faintly under the sun, with wide gates flanked by towering statues of armored beasts. Smoke curls lazily from dozens of chimneys, and even from the sky, Alex can hear the muted clamor of life beyond the walls. There, he mutters. A small smile tugs at the corner of his mouth. Finally, he angles his descent, careful to land a good distance away. No need to attract attention. His boots hit the earth with a soft thud. Dust stirs at his feet. Pulling his cloak tighter around himself, Alex sets off toward the gates on foot. As he approaches, he falls in line behind a small crowd. Beast folk merchants hauling goods, heavily armored adventurers, a few caravan wagons creaking forward. When he reaches the front, a guard steps into his path. The guard is a hulking figure, scales glinting under battered armor. A long tail flicks lazily behind him, and a thick ledger is tucked under one arm. Entrance fee, the guard grunts, voice rough. 10 silver coins. Alex blinks, mildly surprised. 10 silvers? For entrance? Considering 20 silver coins make 1 gold, it's a heavy toll for common folk. But to him, it's nothing. Without a word, Alex reaches into his coat and pulls out a small pouch. He fishes out 10 silver coins and drops them into the guard's outstretched hand. The coins jingle lightly, the sound sharp against the background noise. The guard raises an eyebrow but says nothing, only nodding once. Behave yourself inside, he rumbles, stepping aside. And don't cause trouble, especially you outsiders. Alex gives a simple nod, his expression unreadable beneath his hood. I'll keep that in mind, he says lightly, his tone polite but distant. The massive gates creak open just wide enough for him to slip through. And with that, Alex steps into the city, his first real foothold in this strange new land. Alex strides through the bustling streets, his sharp eyes scanning everything. The towering stone buildings, the market stalls crammed with strange goods, the mix of monster folk going about their day. If I want to get information quickly, He thinks the Adventurers Guild is my best bet. He blends into the flow of the crowd, moving with quiet purpose. It doesn't take long to find it. A wide, sturdy building with a heavy oak door, a faded banner above it bearing a sword and claw symbol intertwined. Pushing the door open, he steps inside. The inside of the guild is lively. Rough laughter and the clatter of mugs echo through the wide hall. Different kinds of monsters sit at long tables, horned, winged, scaled, furred. Some in full armor, others dressed casually. A huge board at the far end is covered in papers. Job requests, bounties, hunting missions. No one spares Alex more than a passing glance. Just another cloaked figure among many. He finds a corner table and settles down, letting the noisy atmosphere wash over him. A server, a slim, cat-eared girl, comes by with a worn notepad. "What'll you have?" she asks, flicking her tail lazily. "Something hot," Alex says. "And a drink." She nods and disappears into the crowd. Alex leans back, one arm draped casually over the back of his chair, listening. Before long, his food arrives. A steaming stew and a mug of something dark and strong-smelling. He's barely taken his first bite when a conversation from a nearby table catches his ear. "Hey, you hear about that new Tier 6? One of the monsters says. A burly, lion-headed beast man, his voice carrying easily over the noise. "The one that's been challenging Lord Astrum?" Alex stills, listening closely. "No way." Another voice scoffs, this one sharper, belonging to a sleek, lizard-like creature. "Lord Astrum's been leading this continent for almost 50 years now. Ain't nobody stupid enough to go picking a fight with him." "I'm serious," the Lion Man insists, thumping his mug down. "Word is, some unknown showed up out of nowhere. Kill 2 of Astrum's subordinates already." Across from him, a bat-winged woman whistles low. "If that's true, either that guy's got a death wish or he's the real deal." The lizard man leans in, lowering his voice a little. "TCH. Doesn't matter. Lord Astrum's a monster among monsters. Doesn't matter if you're Tier 6. You stand against him, you're dead." The group mutters agreement, though a few look uneasy. Chapter 163, Emberclaw Group. Alex wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, stands up slowly, and walks toward their table. The group goes quiet as he approaches, their gazes sharpening. Without a word, Alex pulls a gleaming gold coin from his pouch and sets it lightly on their table. "Gentlemen," Alex says smoothly, his voice calm and clear, "would you mind telling me more about this Lord Astrum?" The gold coin spins slightly before settling. A few of the monsters glance at each other, clearly tempted. But at the same time they look confused, almost suspicious. The lion-headed beast man squints at him. "You serious?" he says. "You don't know about Lord Astrum?" Another, a bear-like brute, leans forward, frowning. "Where the hell are you from, stranger?" Alex offers a faint, easy smile. "Not from around here. Came from the other continent. I don't know much about this land yet." There's a beat of silence. Then the bat-winged woman laughs softly, a little bitter. "Figures," she says, shaking her head. "Only someone from outside wouldn't know. Most folks here wouldn't even dare say his name so casual." The lizard man snorts, picking up the gold coin and tossing it once in his hand before tucking it into his belt. "You shouldn't have come here, outsider," he says grimly. "This continent's not like the ones across the sea. Used to be peaceful, but now..." He leans back, his tail flicking agitatedly. "Now it's chaos. Been like this for years. There's a group, some call them the Emberclaw. They've been fighting against Lord Astrum's rule. Little skirmishes, assassinations, attacks on supply routes. Real thorn in his side. But..." The lion-headed man cuts in, his voice dropping to a rough whisper. "That ain't the scary part." Alex raises an eyebrow. "Go on." The bat-winged woman glances around quickly, making sure no guild officials are eavesdropping, then leans in. "A week ago, someone new showed up," she says. "Not part of the rebels. Not part of any known group. Just appeared. Started wrecking Astrom's forces like they were nothing. Hit 3 forts in a week. Killed a general in single combat. Whole damn continents talking about it. The bear-like one growls low in his throat. And Astrom? He ain't used to being challenged. That lord. He's ruled here with iron claws for damn near 50 years. Ain't nobody ever dared stand against him and lived long enough to brag. Alex leans slightly closer, his voice low and thoughtful. What do they call this new person? The monsters look at each other again, hesitating. Then the lizard man shrugs. Don't got a real name. Some call him the ghost. Others say, the plaque. Depends who you ask. Moves too fast. Hits too hard. No one's even gotten a clear look at him yet. And you think? Alex murmurs. This ghost is strong enough to beat Astrom? The lion-headed man lets out a rough chuckle. Maybe. Or maybe he'll just piss Astrom off enough to tear half the continent apart hunting him down. One thing's for sure. The bear man rumbles. Big changes are coming. Blood's gonna flow either way. Alex sits back slightly, taking it all in. A small, almost imperceptible smile plays at the corner of his mouth. Interesting, he says softly. The bat-winged woman eyes him curiously. You planning to stick around, outsider? Alex stands, pulling his cloak tighter around him. His shadow falls across their table like a dark wing. For a while, he says simply. And without another word, he turns and walks back to his seat. Alex sits down again, his hand idly stirring the untouched mug of dark liquor in front of him. His eyes narrow slightly in thought. I'm 100% sure the plaque they're talking about is Gander, he thinks. His fingers tap lightly on the wooden table, a steady rhythm. Lowly, under his breath, he mutters, This is interesting. Gander arrived a week earlier than me. He leans back in his chair, staring up at the rough wooden beams overhead. We both went through that portal at the same time, he muses. But it wasn't exactly in good condition after all. Must have thrown him out earlier. The corner of his mouth tightens. Gander's reckless, but he's not stupid. If he's causing that much trouble already, he's got a plan. Alex exhales slowly. First things first. He needs to go to the city where this Astrom lives. He glances over at the group he spoke to earlier. They're back to drinking and whispering among themselves, occasionally shooting glances toward the job board. Alex pushes himself up and walks back toward them, keeping his approach casual. The lion-headed man notices him first, giving a wary grunt. Need something else, outsider? Yeah, Alex says, voice calm. I need directions. Where's the city where Lord Astrom lives? The group exchanges looks again. This time there's a note of caution in their eyes. You serious? The bat-winged woman says. You really planning on going there? Alex simply nods. The lizard man huffs a sharp breath, scratching the back of his scaly neck. You're crazy. But he grabs a scrap of parchment from the table, dips a claw into an ink pot, and quickly sketches a rough map. Follow the main road east for about 4 days. You'll hit a fork near an old broken statue. Take the north path. It'll lead you through Blackthorn Pass. Dangerous, though. Bandits, monsters, worse. He taps the map. Keep going until you see the White Cliffs. Astrom's capital sits right against M. Big city. You can't miss it. Name's Velzer. Alex takes the parchment and folds it neatly, slipping it into his cloak. Thanks, he says, giving a slight nod. Don't thank us. The bear-like brute mutters. If you're going there, better pray you don't run into Astrom's enforcers. Alex's lips curve into a faint, almost amused smile. I'll manage. Without wasting another second, he turns and heads for the door. The guild hall's noise fades behind him as he steps out into the cool evening air. The sky is bruised purple with the coming night. Alex pulls his cloak tighter, feeling the weight of the parchment against his chest, and sets off eastward, his footsteps steady, unhurried. 2 days pass in a blur of sky and clouds. Alex flies high and fast, not bothering with the roads the lizard man marked for him. Blackthorn Pass, bandits, monsters, he's not interested in wasting time. Every now and then he spots something moving below, skirmishes on dusty trails, columns of soldiers marching, but none of it matters. His goal lies straight ahead. By the time he reaches the white cliffs, the sun is dipping low, bathing the horizon in molten gold. And there it is, Velzer. Alex hovers for a moment, taking it in. Massive black walls ring the city, thick enough that siege weapons would barely scratch them. Spires of dark stone and gleaming metal pierce the sky like jagged teeth. Airships drift lazily around the highest towers, guarded by flying beasts he doesn't immediately recognize. Even from here, the city feels heavy. He lowers himself toward a side gate, avoiding the main entrance. After a little fast talking and flashing an adventurer's badge, he's let through without too much trouble. Inside, the difference hits him immediately. The density, Alex thinks, eyes scanning the crowded streets. Everywhere he looks, powerful monsters move through the city like it's normal. Tier 4 monsters, things that would have been a major threat back on the Three Kingdoms continent, are as common here as cabbage sellers in a market. Tier 5s, too, just walking around, fully armored or wrapped in thick enchanted cloaks. He steps aside as a group of armored enforcers march past, all of them Tier 4 at least and one Tier 5 leading them, each carrying black halberds engraved with a burning sun motif. One of them, a hulking boar-headed warrior, catches Alex watching and grunts, "Move along. Don't gawk unless you want trouble." The enforcer snorts and keeps moving, the squad vanishing down a side alley like a metal storm. Alex slips into the crowd, keeping his steps light, his presence low. Gander probably isn't in this city, he thinks, slipping past a fruit cart without so much as a glance. If he was nearby, that item I have would have picked up his signal by now. He taps the small silver badge tucked safely under his cloak. Silent.
No pulse, no glow.
Nothing. Means he's either too far, or underground enough to hide even from this. Alex exhales through his nose and heads toward the biggest building he can see aside from the central tower. A sprawling stone structure marked with the familiar crossed sword and scroll insignia. The Adventurers Guild. The inside is as chaotic as he expects. A wide, open hall filled with roaring fires, dozens of wooden tables, and adventurers of every monstrous shape and size. Huge notice boards line the walls, plastered thick with missions and bounty postings. Some are stained with old blood. No one seems to care. Alex moves toward one of the mission boards. His eyes scan quickly. Hunt down a group of rebels spotted near the river. Escort a supply convoy through Blackthorn Pass. Guard a noble's estate from rebel sympathizers. Most of the missions seem focused on a single enemy, the rebels. And then he sees it. A new notice, still crisp compared to the older, weathered postings. Urgent mission. Rebel stronghold located. Group identified as the Ember Claw. Destroy hideout located in the Ashen Woods. High reward. Bonus for confirmed rebel commander kills. Applicants must be Tier 4 or higher. Contact Officer Marn at the mission desk. Chapter 164. 3 Tier 5 Monster. Alex plucks the parchment from the board, reading it over again slowly. A deep voice rumbles beside him. "You lookin' to die?" Alex glances sideways. A thickly built reptilian adventurer, probably a crocodilian-type monster, stands there, arms crossed, jagged teeth flashing in a grim smile. His scales shimmer dark green under the lantern light. "Everyone who's gone after the Ember Claw lately," the crocodilian says, jerking his thumb at the board, "ain't come back. Place is a meat grinder. Even Tier 5's been having trouble." Alex folds the notice neatly and tucks it into his belt. His voice is calm. "I'll manage." The crocodilian chuckles, a dry, rattling sound. "Suit yourself. You got guts. Maybe no brains, but guts." Alex tilts his head slightly. "You know anything about this hideout?" The reptilian scratches his snout thoughtfully. "Only that the Ashen Woods ain't right anymore. Used to be just another forest. Now, magic's thick in the air. Real bad stuff. Word is, the ember claw's been diggin' in deep. Traps, sentries, wards. The usual rebel nonsense, but worse. He leans in slightly, lowering his voice. And rumor is, they got a new leader. Some real nasty piece of work. Strong. Real strong. Even the enforcers are nervous. Alex's eyes narrow slightly. New leader? The crocodilian pulls away, laughing. Anyway, good luck. If you come back in one piece, drinks are on me. Alex offers a faint smile. I'll hold you to that. Alex stands at the entrance to the ashen woods. Gray mist clings low to the ground, swirling in unnatural patterns as if alive. The trees loom tall and skeletal, their bark blackened like charred bone. The air itself feels wrong, heavy, thick, almost oily against the skin. Whispers drift between the branches, soft at first, then growing louder the deeper he peers inside. Alex watches the forest quietly, his cloak fluttering lightly in the cold, stagnant breeze. What that crocodilian said, he thinks, eyes narrowing. It's even worse than he made it sound. The soil at the forest's edge is a sickly, grayish-black, cracked like dying skin. Strange fungal growths sprout along the roots, pulsing faintly as if breathing. Farther in, he catches glimpses of moving shadows, things that shouldn't even exist, twitching and shuffling between the trees. Most people would have turned around already, maybe even run. Alex simply steps forward, unbothered. He raises his left hand briefly, feeling the cool, subtle weight of the null ring resting against his finger. A divine artifact, small, unassuming, but utterly priceless. With it, curses, poisons, diseases, even most magical corruption under divine tier, wash off him like water against stone. Alex exhales once, steady, and walks straight into the mists. Immediately, the unnatural pressure tries to settle on him. Claws of invisible sickness reaching for his mind, his body, his spirit. But the null ring flashes a faint pulse of silvery light. The poison seeps away. The curses crackle and vanish. The diseased air splits harmlessly around him. Nice try, he thinks, pushing deeper. His senses stay sharp. Even though the corruption can't touch him, the dangers here are still real. Physical traps, ambushes, enemy scouts. And if the Emberclaw rebels have fortified this place, then they're bound to have monsters loyal to them lurking somewhere close. Minutes pass. The mist curls tighter around Alex, muffling even the sound of his own footsteps. Then a flicker of movement. Alex's body shifts instinctively. A sharp blur cuts through the mist, fast, aimed straight for his throat. A blade? A claw? Alex's hand moves even faster, snapping up and catching the strike effortlessly. It's a clawed hand, thick with scales, the owner hidden by the haze. The impact rattles the air, sending a small shockwave through the fog. Alex doesn't even flinch. A low growl follows, and from the mist, two more figures burst forth. One from the left, another from above. No hesitation, no words, just clean, practiced violence. 3 Tier 5. He can feel it in the pressure of their auras, heavy and vicious. Still holding the first attacker by the wrist, Alex tilts his head slightly, voice calm and almost bored. Finally, he says, his tone edged with faint amusement. You all decided to come out. He throws the trapped attacker back with casual force. The figure crashes into a tree with a sharp crack of splintering wood. Alex straightens, brushing invisible dust from his cloak. His crimson eyes gleam faintly in the dim light. I was getting bored out here, he adds, voice carrying through the mist like a blade. The two new enemies land lightly a few paces away, snarling. Now that they are visible, Alex gets a better look. One is a tall, lean creature, almost feline, with sleek black fur and molten yellow eyes. Wickedly curved blades sprout from its arms like natural weapons. The other is a hunched, armored beast, more insect than man, with chitinous plates covering its body and twin scythe-like limbs twitching in anticipation. The first attacker, the one he threw aside, stands up, shaking off the impact. It's a reptilian, larger than the crocodilian at the guild, with horned scales and a whip-like tail lashing behind him. All three radiate killing intent. All three are staring at Alex with open hostility. You shouldn't have come here. The feline one growls, voice rough like gravel. The insectoid creature clicks its mandibles together in agreement, the sound sharp and rapid. You walked into your grave. The reptilian hisses, bearing rows of serrated teeth. Alex rolls his shoulders once, a slow, deliberate movement. The null ring gleams dully on his finger. Alex lifts a hand lazily, as if brushing aside their threats. Well, he says, voice light, I'm not really here to fight you guys. The three monsters stiffen slightly, exchanging quick glances through the mist. Alex's faint smile widens a fraction. In fact, he continues, I was thinking, maybe I could join your good deeds. Do my part for the cause. For a moment, there's only the whispering mist and the low rasp of breathing. The feline monster narrows its molten eyes, studying him. You really want to join us? The feline asks, voice still guarded but tinged with curiosity. Alex shrugs easily, as if the idea is the most natural thing in the world. Before he can answer, the reptilian snarls, tail lashing hard against the ground. Stop with your nonsense. He snaps, venom dripping from every word. If you really wanted to join us, you wouldn't come sneaking around here. Alex raises an eyebrow, playing along. Oh, he says smoothly. And why is that? The reptilian's eyes flash with anger. He steps forward, claws flexing. Why would I tell you? He growls, voice low and dangerous. Alex chuckles under his breath. A soft, amused sound that seems to mock them without effort. The mist coils tighter, the tension thick enough to cut. Alex tilting his head slightly. His crimson eyes gleam in the swirling gloom. You really should be more welcoming to potential allies. The insectoid monster hisses sharply, scythe-like limbs twitching, but says nothing, watching, waiting. Alex lets the silence stretch a moment longer, feeling the weight of their suspicion, their barely restrained aggression. Good. Let them think he's just another fool. It'll make everything easier. He smiles again, calm, easy, dangerous. Well, he says lightly, if you won't tell me, I'll just have to find out myself. The reptilian roars, lunging first, a blur of muscle and scale, claws flashing. Alex doesn't even move from where he stands. He lifts a single hand, catches the reptilian's wrist mid-swing. The momentum dies instantly, as if the larger monster slammed into an immovable wall. What? The reptilian snarls, eyes wide with shock. Before he can process it, Alex twists sharply. There's a wet crack as the reptilian's arm dislocates at the shoulder. He screams, staggering backward. The feline is faster, darting in with a blur of black and gold. Twin arm blades aiming for Alex's neck and heart. A clean strike. But Alex steps aside with a casual sidestep, letting the blades whistle past harmlessly. His hand flicks out, a slap, almost lazy. The feline is sent flying sideways like a rag doll, slamming into the ground hard enough to leave a shallow crater in the soft, corrupted earth. The insectoid hisses in alarm, scythes gleaming as it charges, its movements sharper, more careful. Alex watches him come with mild interest. You're the smart one, huh? He murmurs. The scythe-armed monster slashes at his midsection in a deadly arc. Alex lets it get close. Too close, then pivots slightly, grabbing the scythe arm just as it passes. He yanks. The insectoid's body lifts off the ground with a shocked click, and Alex hurls him headfirst into a nearby tree. The impact splits the trunk in two, sending splinters flying through the mist. The forest goes eerily still for a moment. Alex straightens his cloak with a small tug at the collar, not even breathing hard. The reptilian groans on the ground, cradling his mangled arm. The feline struggles to rise, blood dripping from his mouth. The insectoid twitches among the broken remains of the tree, dazed. Alex steps forward leisurely, his boots barely making a sound against the corrupted soil. His crimson eyes sweep over the three, indifferent. That's it, he says, almost disappointed. I was hoping for at least a warm-up. The reptilian grits his teeth, forcing himself upright, tail whipping the ground in frustration. "What the hell are you?" he snarls, voice shaking with rage and a hint of fear. Alex tilts his head slightly, considering the question. "I'm a Tier 5, he says mildly, brushing a speck of dust from his glove. "Same as you." Chapter 165. Commander Lathar. The reptilian stares at him, disbelief tightening his features. Blood seeps from the corner of his mouth as he growls low, eyes burning. "There's no way," he spits. "You're just a Tier 5? No Tier 5 can do that. No one beats us this easily." The feline, still on one knee, wipes blood from his chin and glares at Alex. "You're hiding something." Alex's gaze sharpens. The casual air slips away like a dropped mask. He steps forward slowly, the mist parting for him, and his voice loses its playful edge, now cold, level and edged with steel. "I don't care what the three of you are thinking," he says quietly. "Whether you believe me or not doesn't matter. What does matter is that I offered to join you." The insectoid monster, still half-lodged in a splintered tree, clicks its mandibles rapidly. "Why?" it rasps. "You came from the Adventurers Guild. That quest, the one you took, it's a trap. We made it. For adventurers like you." Alex stops just a few paces from the reptilian, who instinctively flinches under his gaze. "I figured," Alex says. His voice is calm, almost disinterested, but something in his presence presses down like a storm front. Cold, crushing, unavoidable. "You put up that notice to lure fools in. Pick off the strong ones. Keep the guild off balance while your faction grows in the dark." The reptilian bares his teeth again, though there's hesitation now. "Yeah, and it worked, until you showed up." Alex sighs, almost theatrically, then shrugs. "Then take it as a gift. I walked into your trap, and I'm still offering to join you. Doesn't that say something?" The three monsters glance at each other. They're bruised, bloodied, shaken, and not just physically. The feline narrows his eyes again. "Why? What do you want from the Emberclaw?" Alex's answer is simple, quiet. "Information, access, and a person I want to meet." He smiles faintly, not kindly. "In return, you get me." Silence stretches between them, thick, uneasy. Then, after a beat, the insectoid clicks softly. "We'll have to bring you to the commander." Alex's smile deepens just slightly. "Perfect," he says. The three monsters turn without another word, leading Alex deeper into the mist-choked forest. Branches creak above. The scent of decay hangs thick in the air. As they walk, Alex keeps his tone casual. "I want to ask something," he says, gaze forward. "Do you guys know anything about someone called the Plaque? The new one who's been fighting your enemies lately?" The feline glances over his shoulder, ears twitching. "The Plaque, huh? I've heard the name. Been getting thrown around lately in the whole continent." The reptilian grunts. "Yeah. Our leaders issued a standing order. If any member spots him, they're to try and invite him to the headquarters. Doesn't matter if he's guild-affiliated or not." The insectoid adds with a dry click. "Last thing I heard, he fought Astrum, and survived. That makes even the air seem to pause." The insectoid turns his head slightly. "Only our leader can face Astrum and walk away. For that guy to do it." He trails off, but the message is clear. Alex doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he hides a flicker of thought behind a neutral expression. So Gander is not in the Emberclaw. After a while, the twisted trees begin to thin, and the mist gives way to a jagged clearing bathed in a dull red glow. Embedded into the side of a rocky hill is a structure, not made of stone or wood, but of some blackened organic material, like bones fused with metal, pulsing faintly with energy. Watchtowers loom above, their sentries barely visible through the haze. The reptilian gestures ahead. "This is one of our bases," he says. "Not the main one, but important enough. The one in command here is Lathar." He pauses, glancing sideways at Alex. "He's a peak Tier 5. The insectoid clicks softly, almost smug. The feline smirks faintly. They're watching for a reaction. A twitch, a frown, anything to show nerves. But Alex just keeps walking, his pace unchanging. "All right," he says simply. No sarcasm.
No tensión.
Just indifference, like someone hearing the name of a local shopkeeper. The feline's smirk fades a little. "You didn't hear me wrong," the reptilian says, trying again. "Peak. That's one step from tier 6. "I heard you," Alex says, not looking at him. "I just don't care." The three fall quiet for a moment, unease flickering beneath their expressions. Alex stops in front of the wide, organic-looking gate, crimson eyes reflecting the pulsing light. "Let's go," he says, voice steady. "I'd like to meet your commander." The gates part with a heavy groan, the blackened material folding open like the ribs of a beast. Inside, the base hums with low energy, corridors woven of dark sinew and bone, glowing faintly with a red pulse that seems synced to a heartbeat too deep to hear. As Alex steps inside, every head turns. Monsters of all shapes and sizes pause what they're doing. Conversations cut off. Weapons lower just slightly. All eyes fall on the trio leading the way, and the stranger walking behind them. There's no mistaking their status. The three monsters, wounded or not, walk with a quiet authority. Their presence carries weight here. Rank, respect. Just below the commander. A horned, four-armed brute leans over to whisper, "What the hell happened to them? They look like they fought something nasty." Another mutters from the shadows. One of the winged scouts perched above frowns down at Alex. "Who's the outsider?" The feline doesn't break stride, voice curt. "Potential recruit. Brought him in personally." The reptilian adds, "He passed the test." That gets a few murmurs. One of the monsters scoffs, but another leans forward, intrigued. Alex glances around, eyes brushing over the crowd like drifting coals. Unbothered, calm. The murmur dies almost instantly. The insectoid clicks his mandibles once, a sound like a signal, and the hallway parts. No one stands in their way. The feline looks back at Alex, studying him again. "You're really not nervous?" he asks, quieter now. "Not even a little?" Alex meets his eyes, expression unreadable. "I've already beaten you 3, he says simply. "Why would I be worried about your superior?" The reptilian chuckles dryly under his breath, almost impressed. The hallway opens into a broad chamber carved into the hill's heart, lit by slow, pulsing veins of crimson light that snake through the walls. At its center stands a massive stone-like table, warped and cracked with age, surrounded by maps, carved tokens, and clusters of glowing shards that hum with arcane energy. Behind it stands a tall, imposing figure, lean but broad-shouldered, covered in sleek obsidian armor that seems to ripple with life. His face is partially covered by a bone-like helm, but one eye, sharp, yellow, and piercing, gleams from beneath it. Lathar. He doesn't look up at first. His clawed fingers move pieces across the table, muttering under his breath. Only after a long moment does he raise his gaze, fixing it on the three monsters. "What is it this time, you three?" His voice is low, gravelly, and edged with mild irritation. "You look like you've been stepped on by a dragon." The reptilian bows slightly. "Commander, there's someone here. He wants to join." That gets Lathar's attention. His eye narrows. "What? Since when did you 3 become recruiters?" The feline stiffens slightly but speaks up. "We didn't plan to. He found us. Took the bait quest." Lathar frowns. "And?" The insectoid clicks his mandibles. "He beat all 3 of us. Clean. We couldn't land a real hit." Silence stretches for a breath. Then Lathar straightens fully, stepping out from behind the table. His presence is heavy, every movement measured, precise, like a blade half-drawn. Alex doesn't bow, doesn't flinch. He simply meets Lathar's gaze with quiet confidence. "You wanted to join?" Lathar asks. "You do realize what we are here, right?" Alex says nothing. Lathar gestures vaguely to the walls, the structure, the unnatural energy that pulses through the air like a heartbeat. In the eyes of the world, of the nobles, the guild, the city lords, we're not a faction. We're not a resistance. We're the villains, the rebels, the ones who refused to kneel when the one lord declared his reign absolute. He takes a few slow steps forward, each one ringing slightly on the hard floor. Is that something you're ready for, adventurer? Because this isn't just some mercenary group. Alex shrugs, his expression cool and unreadable. I don't really care, he says. Also, is it really this hard to join? Lathar pauses, the flicker of a dry smile tugging at the edge of his mouth. Normally? No. We'd welcome someone like you with open arms. Someone that strong doesn't come walking in every day. He stops just a few paces from Alex now, his gaze sharp as a blade's edge. But lately too many bases have gone dark, destroyed from the inside. We've had traitors, people who joined just to gut us when we least expected it. His voice hardens. So yes, we're careful now, paranoid, even. We don't hand out trust just because someone looks strong. Lathar's smile sharpens. How about this? He says, voice low. Fight me. A stir ripples through the room behind them. A few murmurs, a few sharp intakes of breath. If you survive for 1 minute, I'll recommend you directly to the headquarters. Alex raises a brow, clearly unimpressed. Oh? And what if I defeat you? That draws a short laugh from Lathar, deep, amused, almost predatory. Defeat me? He echoes, clearly entertained. You're bold. I like that. He tilts his head slightly, stretching one armored shoulder. All right, if you beat me, I won't just recommend you. He steps back, the air around him beginning to hum with latent power. I'll personally escort you to meet our leader. Chapter 166. Alex vs. Lathar. Outside, in the clearing behind the base, the trees fall away into a wide, open ring of scorched earth and stone, clearly used often for combat. Scars from previous fights cut deep into the dirt. Impact craters, melted grooves, claw marks, and bloodstains long since dried. A crowd is already gathering, drawn by word of the challenge. Dozens of Ember Claw members form a loose circle around the clearing's edge. Beasts, mutants, chimeras, and more monstrous things cloaked in shadow and mist. Many tower over Alex. Others crouch low with twitching limbs. Some hiss softly with anticipation. He's going to fight the commander? A scaled brute mutters, blinking wide amber eyes. No way he survives. A stitched-together abomination chuckles. Lathar doesn't hold back. Still, says a feathered creature with glowing orbs for eyes. Gotta give him credit. Takes guts to stand up to a peak tier 5. One of the winged scouts leans down from her perch on a skeletal pillar, murmuring, either he's insane, or he's really a real deal. A thin-limbed wraith near the front smirks, smoke curling from its shoulders. I hope he lasts longer than the last idiot who tried. That guy didn't even last 15 seconds. The original trio, reptilian, feline, and insectoid, stand off to the side, nursing their injuries, eyes fixed on the center. Lathar steps into the center of the clearing. His obsidian armor glints under the pale red glow, and the ground subtly cracks beneath each of his slow, deliberate strides. He stretches his neck with a pop, then rolls his shoulders as faint, flickering strands of crimson energy rise around him like coiled fire. I won't kill you, he says, tone even. But don't expect me to play nice either. Alex steps into the circle across from him, calm, relaxed. You don't have to hold back, he says. I'd be insulted if you did. More murmurs ripple through the crowd. Damn. Someone breathes, grinning. This guy's really not scared. A dozen monsters focus their gazes, mana gathering faintly in case the fight gets out of hand. Lathar's smile is gone now. His stance lowers, sharp and precise, fingers flexing once like talons. Alex takes one step forward, then another, measured, quiet, calm. With a flick of his wrist, his sword materializes into his hand. Sleek, dark metal edged in a faint shimmer of power. is a tier 5 weapon, sharp, responsive, balanced perfectly to him. He could have used the tier 6 blade in his inventory. But what's the point of swinging a sword you can't wield properly? This one will do just fine. The air around him stills, and then, so subtly it barely registers, his aura shifts. He doesn't shout incantations. There's no dramatic gesture or glowing glyphs. Just a breath, a blink, and 5 buff skills stack silently across his body. Speed, reflexes, precision, durability, strength. Lather's eyes narrow the instant he senses it. Not clearly, just a flicker, a wrongness in the rhythm of the air. Did he just? His mind clicks into high alert. That wasn't just one skill. He watches Alex closely, jaw tight behind his helm. The flow of mana isn't loud or sloppy. It's razor-tight, folded in on itself, like a seal forged to suppress even the trace of presence. Most of the crowd doesn't notice a thing. They just see a guy holding a sword. But Lathar? He feels it. 1 buff skill is manageable. 2 is impressive. 3 is dangerous. But 5, possibly more, and all cast silently, without a single chant or tell. He squares his stance, eyes sharp now. Serious. Hey! He mutters under his breath, just loud enough for Alex to hear. 5 buff skills. Maybe more. You hiding a 6th one too? Or are you just showing off? Alex tilts his head slightly. You counted. I guessed. Lathar exhales slowly, drawing power into his limbs, armor humming in response. I just felt a chill, that's all, he says. Been a long time since someone gave me that. He cracks his knuckles, the energy around him coiling tighter, heavier. This is gonna be interesting. A heartbeat passes. Then Lathar moves. No warning, no call-out. Just a blur of motion as he surges forward. Water coalescing around his right arm. It twists mid-air, hardening into a spiral lance of deep blue mana that pulses with chilling pressure. Tier 4 skill, Torrent Fong. The ground beneath his feet fractures as he explodes off it, thrusting the lance toward Alex with precise, overwhelming force. A roaring burst of compressed water tears through the air like a jet engine, sharp enough to pierce enchanted steel. But Alex is already moving. His body shifts to the side fluidly, not dodging, meeting the blow. Mana flares around his blade as he slashes upward in a swift arc, coated in flickering orange light that radiates intense heat.
Tier 4 skill Flammant.
Steel meets water. A thunderous crack erupts as the 2 elements collide, fire hissing violently against Lathar's spiraling lance, the impact erupting in a blinding flash of steam and flame. The shockwave detonates outward, hurling dust and debris into the watching crowd. Several monsters stumble back, shielding their faces. A few lose their footing entirely. Back up! Back up! The ground groans and splits beneath the clash. The air warps from the pressure. For a moment it seems even, but then Lathar grits his teeth, his lance faltering, cracking apart from the center. Alex's blade doesn't just cut. It devours the opposing skill, heat roaring up the length of the water construct and disintegrating it from the inside. With a sharp twist of his wrist, Alex snaps the remnants of the skill apart and steps in close, his blade coming within inches of Lathar's chest before the commander leaps back, boots skidding hard across the stone. Silence ripples through the clearing. Lathar glances at his gauntlet scorched. His arm trembles slightly from the force of the rebound. You overpowered my tier 4 skill, he says, voice low, more surprised than angry. Alex lowers his blade just a fraction, face unreadable. You gave me an opening. You met water with fire. You should have been overrun. Alex shrugs. Fire's just what I felt like using. A flicker of surprise crosses Lathar's eye. You can use more than 1 elements? I can, Alex answers simply. Another stir spreads through the crowd. Did he just? No wonder he's cocky. Lathar rolls his shoulders, the armor creaking slightly as mana flows faster now beneath his skin. Then I'll stop holding back, he says, his tone finally darkening. The moment Lathar speaks those words, I'll stop holding back, the temperature plummets. The air thickens with moisture. Mana condenses so sharply it hums, like vibrating glass. The sky above the clearing darkens, clouds swirling unnaturally fast, pulled by the raw gravitational force of magic gathering around Ladhar. Tier 5 skill, Abyssal Flood. Water surges out from beneath his boots, not from the ground, but seemingly from nowhere. A rising wall of black-blue liquid that moves with impossible force. It churns like a living tide, arcs of lightning crackling faintly across its surface. The watching monsters fall silent. Then the wave crashes down. Not toward Alex, but over everything. It devours half the clearing in one violent sweep, uprooting earth, flattening the terrain. Trees at the edge of the ring bend and snap, soaked instantly. Rocks are launched like missiles. The entire base behind them shudders. The feline, still bandaged, chokes on his breath. Does the commander want to destroy the base? A reptilian near him snarls. That's not sparring. That's war. Above them, winged scouts dive for cover. Others scramble away from the circle's edge, shielding their heads. But in the heart of the flood, a flash of gold. Alex stands at its center utterly still. The water should have swallowed him whole. Instead, Tier 5 skill, Earthen Vault. The ground beneath his feet erupts upward, massive slabs of stone forming a rotating shield that splits the incoming tide. Water slams into the barrier, but the rock holds firm, reinforced by a second ripple of elemental energy that pulses outward from Alex's feet. Tier 5, Lightning Bind. A high-pitched crack pierces the sky as lightning rips through the remaining water, splitting it like a jagged scar across the battlefield. The deluge collapses into vapor, and the swirling torrent loses form, shattered by precision, counter-element, and sheer will. At the edge of the field, the three Tier 5 monsters instantly react. "Barrier now!" snarls the horned, four-armed brute. A shimmering dome of force snaps into place around the two fighters, cutting them off from the crowd. Arcane sigils spiral outward, carving glowing lines across the boundary. The air inside compresses, locking their powers in place. "Contain them," the insectoid mutters, clicking his mandibles. "If either of them unleashes another Tier 5 skill, we'll lose half the base." Within the dome, the storm settles. Alex stands tall amidst the mist and fractured ground, lightning still arcing faintly around his arms. His gaze fixes on Ladhar, who now breathes hard, one knee bent slightly to brace against the recoil of his last attack. His armor is scorched in patches. Cracks web across his right pauldron. His hands tighten into fists, but he doesn't rush. He watches, judging. Then, Alex exhales slowly. "Let's end this right now," he says calmly. Lathar's spine stiffens at the tone. Not angry, not taunting, just final. Then, without warning, Alex vanishes. No flare of mana. No chant. Just gone. Flash step. Alex reappears 10 meters away, his back to the mist. 3 distinct ripples of pressure flare in the air around him. He isn't attacking. Not yet. Instead, he lifts his hand and conjures. Not with a flourish, not with an incantation. Just will. Mana parts the air like blades, and 3 glowing skill sigils emerge, hovering behind him like looming constellations. Chapter 167, Varith, leader of the Emberclaw group. Each one is Tier 5. Each one radiates an overwhelming elemental presence that makes even the barrier hum in warning. The first sigil blazes gold-red with roaring heat. Tier 5 skill, Solar Break. A sun-like orb begins forming at its center, pulsing violently with compressed fire and light. The very air around it distorts. The second sigil crackles with chaotic arcs of white-blue lightning. Tier 5 skill, Thunder Crown. Bolts flicker outward, coiling around Alex's body like living serpents, his aura flashing with electrical rage. The third, dark green and earthen, its center swirling with gravity-defying shards of stone and crystal. Tier 5 skill, Gaia's Edge. The ground trembles beneath them as jagged spears of earth rise silently, poised to strike at command. Alex doesn't say a word. He just looks at Ladhar. The commander stares at the 3 sigils, his jaw tight, sweat rolling down his brow despite the cold. He takes one step back, then another. His body stiffens. Soul instincts scream louder than logic. Every fiber in him says run. The moment all 3 Tier 5 skills begin to stabilize in the air behind Alex, each one primed for simultaneous cast, Lathar lifts both hands with a sharp intake of breath. Okay, he barks. Okay, you win. I admit defeat. The skills freeze. The glowing sigils hold a moment longer, then slowly dissipate, absorbed back into Alex's control. Silence. Lathar exhales heavily, eyes wide, chest rising and falling. You were really going to use all 3 at once, he mutters, voice dry. Alex gives a faint shrug. You said don't expect you to play nice. A long pause. Then, Lathar lets out a quiet, incredulous laugh. That wasn't nice. That was insanity. If you'd fired those off at once. Not even ashes left. The barrier drops. Gasps and murmurs ripple through the watching crowd.
Monsters stare in stunned silence.
The feline gapes. Did the commander just give up? The insectoid twitches nervously. That wasn't a spar. That was a display of power. One of the scouts mutters. 3 Tier 5s at once.
No chant. No stran.
The feathered oracle bows her head slightly. This Alex is not someone you measure by rank alone. Back in the ring, Lathar walks over and claps Alex's shoulder, still catching his breath. Shakes his head. Although I'm seriously impressed. You conjured 3 Tier 5 skills simultaneously, and not just junk skills either. Each of those was lethal on its own. Alex says nothing, simply returning the nod with a calm, unreadable look. Lathar continues. I've fought monsters, assassins, even a damn storm elemental once. But I've never seen someone cast like that.
No chant. No delay.
No instability. That's not normal. That's surgical. He gives Alex a sideways glance, curiosity sparking in his eyes. Honestly, I want to ask how the hell you pulled that off. What kind of training are you working with? But I'm guessing you don't feel like sharing. Alex's expression barely shifts. I can't. Alex thought, even if I wanted to, I couldn't teach it to others. After all, it's not training, it's just the system being different. Lathar smirks. Yeah, thought so. He straightens up, his tone turning brisk again. Anyway, we need to move. If you're still set on meeting the leader, this is the moment. You won my respect, and everyone's attention. That's enough to grant you an audience, no questions asked. He gestures for Alex to follow, turning toward the edge of the clearing. The crowd silently parts for them, watching with a mixture of awe and wariness. Lathar leads him to a shadowed alcove behind a cluster of fractured stone pillars. Embedded in the ground is a circular platform, etched with glowing runes pulsing faintly with teleportation magic. He steps onto it, motioning for Alex to do the same. Teleport gate to the main base, Lathar explains, placing a hand against one of the sigils. Takes us straight to the main base. The leader doesn't like wasting time, and trust me, after what you just showed, he'll want to see you immediately. Alex steps onto the platform beside him, and the air begins to hum. With a low pulse of energy and a flash of light, the teleportation sigils activate, and they vanish. Shortly after, Alex finds himself engulfed in a swirl of color and pressure, like being squeezed through a tunnel of raw mana. Then, with a subtle pop, the world stabilizes around him. He blinks once. They're standing in a vast, domed hall flooded with movement and light. Crystalline panels line the ceiling, refracting sunlight into cascading rainbows across the marble-like floor. Dozens of teleportation circles line the perimeter, each one flaring to life every few seconds as people and creatures appear or vanish. Alex's eyes flick across the crowd. A group of scaled warriors stride past, speaking in sharp, guttural tones. A cloaked elf sorcerer adjusts her staff, flanked by a floating eye construct. 2 insectoid guards check credentials at a security post. A horned merchant hawks glowing artifacts from a floating stall. It's organized chaos. Lathar steps forward, motioning loosely with a gloved hand. "Welcome to our main base's teleportation station," he says. "This is one of the busiest hubs of the city. Military, trade, even research all flow through here." Alex's gaze lingers on a pair of children, one an elf, one feline, racing past with small rune satchels, laughing. Lathar notices and adds, "Yeah, it's not just monsters here. We've got beastkin, demi-races, synthetics, you name it. This isn't some war camp. It's a city." Alex studies the flow of people. "You're not just surviving out here. You're thriving." Lathar grins. "We don't have the luxury of falling apart. Not with the world the way it is. Our strength comes from unity, forced or earned." They continue walking through the bustling hall, footsteps echoing over smooth stone as the shifting crowd gives them a wide berth. Looking around, Alex finally speaks. "With how open your main base is, you're telling me this Astrum guy still doesn't know where it is?" Lathar lets out a short breath through his nose, half a laugh. "Oh, he knows. I'd bet good coin on it." "Then why hasn't he hit you?" "Because he can't afford to," Lathar says, glancing sideways. "Not with the other families watching him like hawks. Astrum's powerful, yeah, but his grip on the throne isn't absolute. If he goes all in on us, he leaves his flanks open. And in his world, hesitation means assassination." Alex raises a brow. "Politics over power." "Exactly. Even monsters have to play the long game." They exit the building, stepping through a broad archway framed by living crystal vines. The light outside is warm, but filtered, diffused by mana-rich air. What greets Alex beyond the threshold is a sight he doesn't quite expect. A massive, multi-tiered city stretches before them, alive with movement and layered architecture. Structures of glass-like stone and glowing metal rise in elegant arcs. Sky rails weave between towers. Hovering platforms drift lazily in the air. Trees grow along rooftops and in vertical gardens, coexisting with magic tech arrays and rune lanterns. The city pulses with both nature and design, vibrant, alive, and unmistakably advanced. Alex pauses, taking it in. Though it's not as grand as his own capital in sheer scale or royal opulence, in terms of harmony, infrastructure, and cultural mix, this place is something else entirely. Compared to the cities in the Three Kingdoms, Alex thinks, this is 100 times more advanced. Lathar watches his expression, a hint of pride in his voice. "Not bad, huh?" Alex nods slowly. "It's more than I expected." "Good. You'll want to remember that feeling." Lathar starts down a curved path toward a looming central tower in the distance, flanked by shimmering barriers and guard sentries. They approach the central tower, taller than any structure Alex has seen in this city. Its surface gleams like obsidian, etched with glowing veins of mana that pulse in rhythm, as if the building itself breathes. Guards step aside silently as they near, and a wide, rune-locked door begins to open without a word. A deep hum resonates from within. They step inside. The interior is cavernous, more like a cathedral than a hall. Massive archways curve high overhead, each one supported by monolithic pillars that shimmer with enchantments. At the far end of the chamber, seated atop a platform of blackstone and ancient roots, is him, the leader, a colossal figure, at least 7 meters tall, sits upon a throne grown from living crystal and fossilized bone. His form is vaguely humanoid, but only in silhouette. Everything else is monstrous. Thick armor-like scales cover his body, a dull, volcanic black with cracks that glow faintly like magma. His arms are long and built like siege weapons, ending in taloned claws. A flowing mane of dark crimson energy drapes behind his head like a burning cape. Horns spiral from the sides of his skull, and his eyes, molten gold, sharp as blades, fix instantly on Alex. The air grows heavier. The entire chamber reacts to his presence.
Mana thickens.
Light dims. Even the floor seems to tense under his gaze. Lathar bows his head, kneeling with one fist pressed to the ground. Alex doesn't kneel. The leader's voice rolls across the chamber like distant thunder, low and heavy. Lathar, you're here. Has something gone wrong? Lathar lifts his head, his voice steady. No, my lord, nothing's wrong. I bring someone exceptional. The molten gold gaze shifts, locking fully onto Alex. Lathar rises to his feet, glancing once at Alex before turning back to the throne. This is Alex. He approached our outpost, asked to join. But he made a request. He wanted to see you personally. A rumble rolls through the air. Not quite a growl, not quite speech. The leader's presence sharpens. Chapter 168, Verid Hollow. So you brought him here, simply because he asked?
No.
Lathar hesitates, then chuckles bitterly. I challenged him to a duel. If he could defeat me, I'd grant the audience. He straightens his posture, jaw clenched. And I was defeated, he says bluntly. Utterly.
No excuses.
No holding back on either side. He overwhelmed me. The leader's claws curl slightly against the stone armrest. Silence deepens. Then, a deep, amused growl echoes through the hall. I see. The leader rises slightly from his throne, his immense form casting shadows that ripple like heat haze. He steps down from the platform with the weight of a collapsing mountain, each footfall thudding with restrained force. His aura expands, brushing against Alex like the edge of a storm. I am Varith, he says, the name vibrating the walls. Leader of the Emberclaw group, and the only reason this city still breathes while the world crumbles. He halts a few paces from Alex, towering above him. You faced one of my commanders and forced surrender. You show no fear to me. So tell me, Alex. His voice drops, a dangerous purr. Why do you want to join? Alex meets the molten gaze without flinching. He doesn't bow, doesn't avert his eyes. He simply stands his ground, calm, silent, unreadable. Inside, of course, the truth sits quietly. This land is perfect. A continent where monsters rule, where raw power shapes society, and where no kingdom or noble blood dictates the flow of fate. If he can conquer this land, he might reach Tier 7 in one smooth ascent. But not yet. Right now, Alex has neither enough forces nor a foothold. So he'll let the two powers, Varithas and Astrums, tear each other apart. And when the ashes settle, he'll claim what's left. But none of that shows on his face. I want to end Astrum's tyranny, Alex says, his voice even, deliberate. Varith tilts his massive head, expression unreadable beneath the shifting glow of magma-lit eyes. Just like everyone else, the behemoth rumbles. Are you here for revenge? Alex pauses, then nods slightly. You could say something like that. Varith studies him in silence. For a long moment nothing moves, only the low hum of energy crackling through the chamber's walls. People talk about vengeance. Varith finally says, voice low, they burn hot and die fast. You don't strike me as the burning type. I'm not, Alex replies. Varith's gaze narrows, watching him like a predator. Then what are you? Alex's answer is simple. Patient. A deep, slow exhale rumbles from the monster lord's chest. Not quite a laugh. Not quite approval. I see. Varith turns and ascends the steps back to his throne. Each stride seems to shake the air, but there's a certain calm in the motion now. Less testing, more calculating. He lowers himself onto the throne with the weight of authority, claws tapping once against the stone. I can feel it, he says, voice echoing across the chamber. You're strong. I'd be glad to have you on my side. His eyes narrow slightly, voice dipping with subtle amusement. But people like you don't take orders well. That's fine. I prefer my blades sharp and self-guided. He shifts his gaze to Lathar. Lathar, as punishment for your loss, you'll serve under Alex, for a period. Lathar's brow twitches, but he doesn't argue. He bows his head. Understood, my lord. Varith says flatly. Alex, you'll guard the sector Lathar commands. It's a contested region. Dangerous, unstable, but important. His gaze cuts between them. Is that a good arrangement for you? Alex doesn't answer right away. He simply lets a faint smirk tug at the corner of his lips. Just enough that Vareth might catch it, but not so bold it's disrespectful. So that's how he wants to play it. Alex knows what this is. Vareth isn't just handing over authority. He's planting Lathar to monitor him. A watchdog dressed as a subordinate. It's clever. But Alex doesn't care. He's not here to hide. That works for me, Alex says smoothly. Vareth leans back. Lavalit cracks along his arms, pulsing with subtle heat. Then it's settled. Lathar, you answer to Alex for now. Alex, you hold that zone. Keep it from falling. He lifts one massive claw. And don't die. That would be disappointing. Alex and Lathar step out of the obsidian tower, the thick mana-saturated air outside feeling almost light by comparison. The door behind them seals shut with a low hum. Lathar immediately exhales hard, dragging in a fresh breath like he's been underwater for minutes. Phew! He shakes his head. You really are something else. Alex glances at him without slowing his stride. Lord Vareth just flared his full aura at you, and you took it like it was nothing. Lathar says, still half in disbelief. Meanwhile, I was standing there feeling like I was about to sink into the floor. Alex shrugs. Then you need to train your mental fortitude. Lathar scoffs, smirking. Mental fortitude doesn't mean much when it feels like the sky's about to crush you. Then get stronger. Ha! Lathar grunts. Easier said than done. They pass under the archway again, re-entering the layered city. The sounds of activity, distant chimes, hovering skiffs, the hum of mana rails, filter back in. So, Lathar says, hands slipping into his coat pockets, want to head back to the base now? After all, you're the commander now. Alex looks ahead calmly. What if I said, even though I'm the commander, you keep doing what you were doing before? Lathar stops for a beat, blinking, then sighs dramatically. And here I was, thinking I'd finally be free from all that paperwork and patrol logistics. Alex lets the smallest smile touch his lips. You're still free. Oh yeah. Lathar raises a brow. How's that? You're free to complain while doing it. Lathar groans, rubbing the back of his neck. Damn. This is gonna be a long few weeks. Alex walks a few more steps, then glances sideways at Lathar. Is there a place here where I can buy information? Lathar doesn't even blink. There is. Just follow me. No questions.
No curiosity.
He simply turns and starts walking down a side path that curves along a lower-tier bridge. The wind shifts slightly, thick with the scent of burning minerals and ozone. Alex keeps pace beside him. You're not going to ask what kind of information I want? Lathar snorts. I've seen enough today to know asking questions around you just wastes breath. Alex gives a faint nod, approving of the answer. The streets get narrower as they descend, less polished. The floating lights are dimmer here, the air heavier. Not many people pass by, and those who do keep their heads down. This part of the city, Lathar says quietly, belongs to those who know how to listen and sell what they hear. They turn a corner, and a squat building made of black stone and shimmering bone glass looms into view. No signs, no guards. Just a single red thread tied to the doorway, swaying with unnatural stillness. This is it, Lathar says, then pauses. You go in alone. Standard protocol. They don't like guests coming in pairs. Alex steps forward, placing a hand on the door. It doesn't open at first. Then a subtle click sounds, and it eases inward with a whisper. Lathar leans back against the wall, arms crossed. I'll be out here when you're done. Try not to pick a fight with the walls. Alex disappears into the shadows beyond the doorway without a word. Some time passes. The door hisses open again. Alex steps out. His expression hasn't changed, but there's a faint shift in his presence. Something sharper, more focused. Tucked under one arm is a rolled-up parchment sealed with a rune lock, and his other hand tucks away a thin metallic slip into his coat. Lathar straightens from the wall. So, got what you wanted? Alex nods once. Everything I needed, including this. He holds up the rune-sealed map for a second. Full topographical record of the continent. Territory divisions, mana concentrations, fault zones, even hidden routes. Lathar whistles low. Expensive. Alex's tone is flat. Worth it. They fall into step again, heading back toward the lift line that snakes up to the main levels. So what now? Lathar asks. We heading back to base? Alex shakes his head. No. I need to go somewhere first. I won't be joining you. Lathar stops walking, blinking. You're leaving already? Alex turns to face him. Just for a while. Lathar exhales slowly, then digs into a hidden pocket in his belt. He pulls out a small obsidian token etched with a glowing red claw mark and flicks it toward Alex, who catches it effortlessly. Here. That's a key. You can use any teleportation station that's under Ember Claw control. Alex studies the token for a moment before slipping it into his coat. Thanks. Lathar gives him a half-smile, almost reluctant. Don't thank me. Just don't die wherever you're going. I don't want to have to explain that to Lord Vareth. Alex smirks faintly. I don't die easily. Alex watches him go, then turns toward the nearest teleport node, the token already warming in his hand. He has what he needs. After some time studying the map, Alex decides to head for the teleportation station. The route is clear now. The place he's going? Vareth Hollow, the last known location where Gander known as the Plague was seen. A rift-scarred valley lost in obscurity, nestled between shattered cliffs and tangled ley lines. No formal factions claim it because none can hold it. He mutters under his breath, more to himself than anyone listening. So that's where you went. The thought lingers. This Astrum guy's forces are quite capable to corner Gander like this. Chapter 169. Karwal and Tandu. The teleportation platform activates with a sharp pulse of mana, the sigils beneath Alex's feet flaring with blue-white light. Then, silence. Stillness. Pressure like slipping between folded dimensions. And he's through. Alex steps out into a dim, circular chamber. Not ruined. Not dusty. The walls are clean, lined with obsidian plating veined in living mana circuits that pulse gently beneath the surface. New construction, or at least maintained. He glances around. The room is built into stone, but reinforced with ether-treated steel, the air filtered and dry. No welcome committee, no sensors flaring in alarm. Just an automated presence that registers his arrival and logs it silently into a nearby console. Smart. Alex mutters, stepping off the pad. No direct connection to the network, just a controlled endpoint. The Emberclaw group can't link directly to other cities. Their teleportation grid is cut off from everyone, either by necessity or strategy. Which means this station was built quietly, likely without permission, bypassing Astrum's surveillance net. He walks to the door, no obvious handle, no keypad. It opens with a whisper as the rune token still resting in his coat pulses once. The door slides open with a soft hiss, revealing the outside world. Alex steps out into dense forest. The shift in environment is immediate. Cooler air. The chirring of unseen insects. Filtered light breaking through thick, moss-covered branches. It's quiet, but not lifeless. The teleportation chamber behind him blends seamlessly into a mound of earth and stone, like part of the forest itself. He glances back once to make sure it seals itself properly. Then he pulls out the map. Let's see. He traces a finger toward Vareth Hollow. A jagged symbol marks the scarred valley nearby. Twisted topography, erratic ley line clusters. No faction banners, no recognized safe zones. Just warnings. But then his eyes catch something else. Just west of Vareth Hollow's outer edge, nestled along a curved river and ringed by ridged cliffs. Dasker, he murmurs. The city's marker gleams faintly under the sunlight. Small, fortified, positioned just outside the edge of the ley warp zone. According to the notations, it's the last functional settlement before the Hollow. Not exactly close, but reachable. He studies the terrain between here and the Hollow. Dense forest, rocky ridges, 2 collapsed ley streams, and no official roadways. Of course there wouldn't be. He stands, tucking the map away into his coat and scanning the treeline ahead. This place might be crawling with scavengers and lunatics, but it's rich.
Mana crystals.
Rare herbs, ether-drenched beasts, even relics left behind by unlucky adventurers. Alex exhales softly, then lifts into the air. The flight is smooth and effortless. Mana swirling faintly around his boots as he soars above the forest canopy. Wind tugs at his coat, the thick trees below giving way to rolling hills and shadowed cliffs. The sky is cloudy, but the visibility is good. The sky is cloudy, but the visibility is good. It doesn't take long before the fortified outline of Dosker comes into view. A compact city built into the base of a steep ridge, its outer wall a mix of stone, metal, and reinforced bonewood. A few towers dot the perimeter, manned by sentries. Watch crystals blink from their perches. Alex begins to descend. The wind gathers around him in spirals as he floats gently down, landing just before the massive ironwood gates. A few guards shift where they stand, gripping halberds, but their expressions change the moment they see him lower from the sky. Tier 5. One of them mutters under his breath. A few locals nearby stop to stare. Two adventurers gawking openly from a nearby caravan elbow each other and start whispering. Alex doesn't pay them any mind. He walks forward calmly, stopping just before the gate's checkpoint. A bored-looking guard, older, with a patchy beard and a well-used cuirass, straightens up a bit when he sees Alex. His eyes flick briefly to the mana still radiating off Alex's shoulders. "Welcome to Dosker," the man says. "Entry tax is 6 silver. Alex nods and reaches into his coat. He drops a handful of silver coins onto the small tray beside the guard's post. The guard doesn't bother to count them, just steps aside and taps the gate rune. "Go on through." The great gate lurches and splits open with a groan of gears and mana-powered pistons. Inside, the city is buzzing. Stone-paved roads, lined with vendors, mercenaries, and travelers from every corner of the continent. The air smells of iron, smoke, and a hint of roasted meat. Mana lights drift overhead, their glow pale against the overcast sky. But what dominates the center of the city, what Alex notices immediately, is the Adventurers Guild building. Massive, towering above the surrounding structures, its dark steel walls glinting under enchantment wards, a huge crest carved above its open archway, 2 crossed spears over a shattered helm. Crowds move in and out, grizzled warriors, robed mages, hunters with monster hides slung over their backs. Alex watches silently for a moment, then steps forward. He just steps into the city proper, the gate sliding shut behind him with a metallic groan, when he catches a conversation nearby. 2 adventurers, young and scruffy, leaning against a supply cart just off the main path. "Hey, did you see Sir Carwell and Tandu earlier?" One says, eyes wide with excitement. "No way," the other replies, turning toward him. "You're serious?" "I swear on my core." They flew right over the outer wall, landed near the old barracks. The second man's expression twists in disbelief, then awe. "Wait, that's 2 of Lord Astrom's guardians. 2 out of 3. What are they doing here?" Alex slows slightly, his ears sharpening. "So the rumors are true." The first murmurs, his voice dropping lower. "The plague. It's hiding in the Varid Hollow." The second exhales, low and shaky. "Damn. It must be. Why else would Tier 6 powerhouses show up out here? Dosker's not exactly on the royal tour." "You're lucky," the first says, shaking his head. "Seeing a Tier 6 in person, I couldn't even breathe when they walked past. Like gravity itself got heavier." Alex passes them without a word, but his eyes narrow slightly. 2 Tier 6. Alex thinks, eyes narrowing as he continues walking. Even for Gander, that'd be tough. If they've been Tier 6 for a while, it's a death sentence. But if they just broke through? He doesn't finish the thought. Either way, it's a dangerous variable. He strides through the busy avenue, weaving between armored mercenaries and cloaked traders. His destination is clear: the Adventurers Guild. Inside, The building hums with mana and voices. Quest boards line the eastern wall, glowing softly. A scent of incense and leather hangs in the air. Scribes work behind reinforced counters, while adventurers of all ranks sort through missions, supplies, or bounties. Alex approaches the nearest reception desk, a young elf woman glancing up from a stack of enchanted parchments. "Looking for something, sir?" she asks politely, eyeing his coat and the mana radiating from him. "I need a detailed map of Verid Hollow," Alex says. "Topography, leyline activity, anything you've got." She hesitates for a beat. "We do have a few updated route charts compiled by survivors. They're expensive, 50 silver each." Alex slides a gold coin onto the counter. "Give me the best version." Far from the bustle of Dosker, deep within the twisted core of Verid Hollow, the air is thick with static. Crimson fog clings to the gnarled ground. Warped trees bend at unnatural angles. Ether pulses through the cracked terrain like the veins of some ancient creature. Floating just inches above the blighted soil, two figures move with careful precision. One wears deep violet armor inscribed with golden sigils. Tall, grim, his eyes glowing with restrained force. Scarwell. Beside him, broader and more bestial in build. His armor fused with living stone and arcane plating, floats Tandu. His expression tight with focus. Tandu hovers a little lower, eyes sweeping over the gnarled terrain. His voice is low, gruff, and tinged with irritation. "Where do you think that plague guy's hiding?" Carwell doesn't stop moving. His eyes scan the landscape with the precision of a predator. "Probably close. He was wounded fighting Lord Astrum. He won't have gone far." Tandu snorts, a plume of mana smoke curling from his helm vents. "Still can't believe he survived that. Anyone else would have been vaporized." "It is impressive," Carwell says, his tone unreadable. "To face Lord Astrum directly and walk away, even barely, isn't something many can claim." "Yeah," Tanda mutters. "But impressive or not, we're here to finish what he started." Carwell finally stops, floating above a twisted ridge of stone, his gaze settling on a dark ravine oozing violet mist. "Then let's not waste time." Tanda cracks his knuckles, a ripple of stone spreading down his forearm. "Fine by me. Let's smoke this freak before he finds a way to heal." Somewhere deeper in the hollow, beneath a shattered ridge where the leyline currents fracture into flickering strands, Gander kneels inside a natural alcove carved into the roots of a massive, half-dead tree. The hollow hums around him, air warped and thick with arcane residue. He's still now, breathing slow, controlled. His hands move with care. A black-gloved finger uncorks a small, jagged vial of greenish fluid thick, glowing faintly in the gloom. A healing potion, but not the kind found in stores. This one is laced with soul thread and bone powder, brewed in silence and pain. Gander lifts it to the ruined place where his mouth should be, just a jagged seam below the grotesque patchwork mask of his face. The thread stitches flex and shift as he drinks, the liquid vanishing between the folds of stitched skin. A hiss escapes him, involuntary. Chapter 170, Battle of Tier 6. Then he leans back, resting against the tree's pulsing root as the potion burns through him. The healing is slow, painful, not clean. It has to be that way. His body is stitched, broken, rebuilt a dozen times over. The potion knits together torn muscle, reinforces fractured bones, and tamps down the spreading corruption from his last battle. A tremor runs through Gander's limbs as the potion finishes its grim work, leaving behind a throbbing ache deep in his joints. He doesn't move for a moment, just breathes. The green orbs in his eye sockets dim, then flare again. Steady now. He mutters to himself, voice low and rough like dry bark scraping stone. "I'm really lucky to be alive." The statement hangs in the air, bitter as blood. He reaches beneath his tattered robes, pulling out a small object from a hidden inner pouch, a warped silver locket, dull and scorched at the edges, its clasp fused shut. Arcane sigils are etched deep into its frame, faintly pulsing with residual light. The failsafe. If not for this, He exhales, shaking his head slowly. I'd be nothing but ash. His fingers curl tightly around the locket as he stares into the middle distance, where violet fog curls like fingers beyond the alcove's mouth. It was my lapse of judgment, he says, almost spitting the words. I got overconfident. Thought I could read him. His fingers twitch, counting invisible numbers in the air. Weighing. Measuring. In my estimate, Gander murmurs, Astrom's level, 660. Maybe higher. Gander's jaw tightens beneath the seams of his mask. His voice lowers, more to himself than to any unseen listener. But I was holding my own. He lifts his hand, the faintest spark of cursed mana dancing across his fingertips. His eyes, burning green, narrow slightly. It wasn't one-sided. Even with his level, Astrom had the upper hand, sure, but he wasn't overwhelmed. Gander matched his tempo, forced him to dodge more than once. I had a plan, a rhythm. I just needed a moment. One slip, one mistake, and I could have turned it. The mist stirs slightly around him, agitated by the low hum of his mana. But then, 2 Tier 6 monsters, just appearing mid-fight like it was nothing. Their presence alone bent the leyline currents. I felt it, like the weight of another world dropped on the field. Suddenly Gander freezes. His head snaps toward the edge of the alcove. The fog shifts unnaturally, no breeze, no animal. Just pressure. Then he feels it. 2 signatures, sharp, heavy, cutting across the leyline threads like knives. Skills aimed, incoming. He doesn't hesitate. Mark shift. The cursed glyph ignites beneath him with a sharp hiss. A blink of green fire and he's gone. Crack. The place he stood erupts, shattered by twin impacts. Mana surges explode against the half-dead tree, ripping bark and root in an upward spiral. Then, high above the ridge, a new shimmer in the air. Space warps, and Gander reappears, standing calmly on a jagged stone outcrop. His robes flutter in the heat left behind. Below him, Carwell rises first, levitating with unnatural grace, golden runes orbiting his armor like lazy stars. He smiles faintly. Finally found you. Gander tilts his head, a crooked smirk pulling at the stitched edge of his mouth. Congratulations, I guess. Tandu appears beside Carwell, a low hum of power vibrating from his stone-forged frame. His eyes narrow. The plague. He crosses his arms. How about you come with us peacefully? Lord Astrom wants to talk. He won't even mention your earlier little scuffle. Gander lets out a dry chuckle. Oh, how merciful. He takes a slow step forward, letting the cursed air ripple around him. So tell me, does your lord want to make me his subordinate now? Tandu says nothing, eyes unreadable. Gander's tone sharpens, voice carrying through the hollow like a blade dragged across bone. Then I'll decline. His eyes flare bright green, defiant. I already have someone I serve. For the rest of my life. The hollow seems to inhale. Tandu's jaw tightens. Then we do this the hard way. Gander grins beneath the seams of his face. Good. The cursed winds scream, and the fight begins. Carwell launches first, his body becoming a blur of crimson light as he vanishes from sight. The air superheats in an instant. Tier 5 skill, blazing rift step. A flaming shockwave tears the ground as he reappears directly in front of Gander, sword cleaving through the air like a falling star. Gander vanishes just as fast, his body disintegrating into a smear of green smoke. Tier 5 skill, Wraith Shell. The blade cleaves into the outcrop, and the entire ridge disappears. Not crumbles, not cracks, but vanishes, atomized by the residual force. A portion of the mountain behind it begins to split under the aftershock. Carwell growls, spinning. Behind! Gander reappears, hand outstretched. Curse brand. Decay spiral. A glyph pulses under Carwell's feet, thorned runes that lash upward, wrapping his limbs in writhing green-black chains. The moment they touch his armor, it begins to rust and splinter, the mana inside flickering. But Tandu slams down between them, axe raised. Tier 5 skill, continental sundering. The entire hollow shudders. His axe hits the cursed tendrils, and the land underneath erupts. A semicircle of terrain hundreds of meters wide vanishes in an explosion of stone and golden mana. Jagged tectonic scars race outward like claws. Gander barely escapes, barely. A sleeve of his robe is vaporized, and the cursed runes along his shoulder flare wildly as they struggle to regenerate. He lands on a fractured pillar, breathing hard, eyes glowing like lanterns. So that's how it is. Tandu rises, eyes burning green light. We're not here to entertain you. Shame, Gander rasps. He slams his staff down. Tier 6 skill, hollow curse, 1,000 mouths of Zar. A rift splits the sky above them. From it descends a tide of screaming black energy. Shapes with jagged teeth and coiling limbs shrieking in eldritch tongues. Each one explodes on contact, warping the world like oil on water. They descend. Tandu's expression hardens. He lifts his free hand, slamming it into the ground. Tier 6 skill, Verdant Bulwark. A dome of compressed earth and sigils bursts upward, sealing him and Carwell inside with a flicker of golden light. The cursed storm crashes down. The entire mountainside is devoured. Everything within 500 meters is gone. Trees, stone, even mana itself is eaten, leaving behind only warped air and whispering void. Inside the bulwark, Tandu pants slightly, his armor hissing steam. Carwell slams his fist into the wall. Let me out. I'll burn him to ash. Tandu exhales. We do this together. The shield drops. Carwell bursts forward, blade blazing.
Tier 6 skill Solar Rang.
The sword ignites like a miniature sun. Every swing leaves trails of plasma that slice the terrain apart. Entire ridgelines collapse into glowing canyons, and the sky darkens under the weight of the power unleashed. Gander moves with ghostly precision, dodging left, blinking right, cloak torn and burnt. Cursebrand, wrought inversion. He catches the plasma slash with a cursed glyph. Time seems to bend. Then the slash reverses direction, screaming back toward Carwell. But the man is already midspin. Tier 5 skill, Infernal Shell. Flames erupt in every direction, forming a cocoon of compressed fire that detonates outward. The inverted solar rend hits it, and both annihilate the plateau beneath them. Massive chunks of mountain collapse. Tandu and Gander leap, meeting midair. Tandu's axe crashes down, guided by molten earth runes. Tier 6 skill, Titan's Verdict. A single blow, but the force punches a hole through the hollow, straight down like an abyss. The shockwave sends Gander flying. He crashes through 3 rock pillars, bones snapping, before he catches himself, barely upright. In Dosker City, the ground quakes. Again, a merchant stumbles as crates of dried herbs tumble off his cart. His donkey shrieks and bolts. Near the center plaza, stone dust shakes loose from carved temple spires as the cobblestones groan under the strain of distant impact. Boom! Another tremor rolls through like thunder trapped underground. What the hell is happening? A young adventurer cries out, clutching the edge of a fountain to steady himself. His armor rattles with the vibrations. The sky remains deceptively clear, but the air carries a strange pressure, like the breath of a storm held too long. It's coming from the Verid Hollow, an older rogue mutters, stepping into the open with narrowed eyes. His voice trembles with awe, not fear. A third adventurer, his robe flaring with wind magic, stares at the western horizon, where faint pulses of red, green, and gold flicker like distant lightning. His voice is low, reverent. Is this the work of Lord Carwell and Tandu? Someone scoffs behind him. Tier 6. The voice is hoarse. If that's what a Tier 6 is capable, then we're ants. The ground rumbles again. This time, a fissure cracks open just outside the east gate. Not wide, not deep, but it wasn't there 5 seconds ago. And in the far sky, too distant to see clearly, but unmistakable to anyone with mana sense, a disaster is falling. High above the trees,